Gabrielle Stone. I'm here talking all about my new book, Eat, Pray, Fuck My Life, and you are watching The 13th Wolfman. Oh!
Hey, everybody's the 13th Wolfman. You know what? You know why I'm back with me today? Well, a couple of weeks ago, I had her mother. Now I have her. I have Gabrielle Stone. Welcome back to Sit Down again, Gab.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's wonderful whenever you're on. You went through some trial by fire the last couple of years.
Yeah, some heavy shit.
Yeah, and you wrote about it. Now, see, here's the thing. It's like when I was a kid, I loved reading. I liked reading like a lot of fiction, whether it was, Mark Twain or Stephen King. I like that stuff. The older I get, I want to read more about people like Robert Wagner and Foxy Brown and stuff like that,
Right.
Pam Grier. And now you wrote a book, and I want to read about you. So let's talk about Eat, Pray FML.
All right. Well, to give people a little bit of background, I was married for almost 2 years. I found out my husband was having an affair with a 19-year-old for 6 months. I filed for divorce and left. Shortly after that, I met a man and we fell madly in love with each other, and he convinced me to go on a month-long trip to Italy with him. 48 hours before we were getting on a plane, he told me he needed to go by himself, and I was absolutely devastated. But I had a decision to make, and that was either stay at home and be heartbroken or go travel Europe for a month by myself. So I took a backpack with no plans, and I did 7 countries over the span of a month, and then wrote a book about it.
That's awesome. I was kind of like that when I was younger. I one day I woke up and I said, okay, I'm just going to hitchhike and go down to California, hang out with my cousin.
Yeah.
And I did that, and I was, I get it. I get the adventurer in you, but in any, did you feel any anxiety amongst this whole thing about being alone out there?
Oh, are you kidding? I was fucking terrified.
Okay, I'm asking.
Yeah. So my biggest fear since I was a little girl was being by myself. Since my dad died, I've not been okay being by myself. I always needed a man in my life, or needed to be with my mom, or had a roommate. I was never really alone with myself. And the second I found out I was going to have to take this trip alone, I knew that it was happening for a reason. The universe was delivering a clear way for me to go face that shit head on. And so I was terrified, but usually the things that terrify you are what makes you grow the most. And
Right.
This trip changed my life. I came back a different woman in all the best ways.
That's awesome. I still miss your dad till this day. Again, we've talked about it before. I didn't know him personally, but I loved him as an actor. So
yeah, me too, as both. And I write a lot about him in the book as well, because a lot of my deep-rooted beliefs and things that I needed to go heal stem from that and from losing him. So I mention him a lot, and kind of how his death happened and how that set me up in the way that it did for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Now, you said when you told me earlier when you landed in London, you had a base that you could hang out at. A friend of yours. I mean, even though you're feeling a little anxiety towards doing this by yourself, did you ever think about, it's like, hey, I'll include some friends?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that I had my best friend that lived in London and I could go stay with her before the majority of the trip took place was a lifesaver for me. I don't know if I would have been nearly as okay as I was if I knew I was just traveling to a hostel on my first, location stop. And it was a good kind of like getting my feet wet into the trip. So I got to stay with her. But the first 2 days she had work, her boyfriend had work. So I would go out and, I was around the whole city adventuring by myself. And then the next 2 days I was able to hang out with her and get some good girl time in, which was so invaluable at that heartbroken time. And it kind of like eased me in to then go do the rest of the trip by myself.
So you hit London, Paris, Barcelona,
Amsterdam, Rome, Mykonos, and
that's
Sicily.
that's the one I was going to have problems saying, Mykonos,
Yeah.
Greece. So yeah, I mean, I know you're in a different frame of mind at the time because of what just happened, but what city or country felt the most romantic to you?
Most romantic.
Most laid back, just kind of like the culture was there to soak up.
Barcelona, for sure. My heart felt at home in Barcelona, and I think the people that I ended up falling in with there were a big part of that, but the city itself was just beautiful, and the culture and just the vibe of every aspect of it was, my heart really felt good there. I loved Amsterdam as well. The canals and the architecture and Dutch people are so lovely. And then my last location in Sicily, I was in a little town called San Vito lo Capo, and it's like this little tiny mom and pop town. It's maybe like 5 streets, and it's dirt roads. Everyone knows each other. There's the beach. There's like stunning mountains, and it was a very like spiritually like fulfilling place as well. It was really beautiful there.
That's the craziest thing that happens in your 30 days.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, crazy good or crazy bad. I made a lot of mistakes. Like
Crazy good.
Crazy good. Okay, we'll go with crazy good. Well, I mean, there's the deeper stuff, like the fact that I learned how to be okay by myself, which was life-changing for me. I learned how to love myself, which was life-changing for me. And then there's the more fun, like, what's the best thing you did? I mean, I ate my ass off on that trip, or I guess I ate my ass on heavier in that trip. But I mean, I just like did not hold back at all with the eating, and I don't regret it. It took me a long time to get it off when I came home, but it was amazing. And in San Vito lo Capo, I jumped off, I think it was like a 50-foot cliff. That was very exhilarating and freeing, and I was like super proud of myself for doing that. And I got like the fact that I was able to get comfortable by myself. At first, when I was in London, I, asking people to take pictures of me and like being very conscious of the fact that I was alone. And then by the time I was in Paris, like I went to Moulin Rouge by myself and was like, yeah, this is great. And then in Rome, towards the end of my trip, I took myself to dinner and like had pasta and got drunk and was like, this is great. So probably like the change and arc of that was really cool.
Do you speak any other than English? Do you speak any other languages?
No. And like, I want to go back and punch my 15-year-old self in the face for not paying attention more in Spanish class. Cause I hate that I don't speak Spanish or any other language, but no, I'm just English.
That's my biggest fear about visiting like some place where I don't speak the language is even though you think that they understand what you're saying, they're still they still not understanding everything you're saying. You're like,
I mean, all the places that I went, like the majority of people spoke English. Paris was a little, and not because they don't speak English, more so because they just like don't like that you are speaking English.
right.
But I didn't have any problems figuring stuff out. Like there's a lot of people that have moved to those cities and are transplants, and English is a pretty widely spoken language.
Yeah, that's why when the number says if you visiting where all the places I would visit are English speaking countries.
Yeah.
It's like Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, Scotland,
Right. Yeah, but all the places I went to, I was fine. So put those on your list.
That's cool. One of the places, if I ever went to France, one of the places I'd like to visit was Balzac's tomb.
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah, the writer. From what I understand, it's a journey. You gotta.
Oh, right.
It's one of those things No one tells you where it is, but you got to find it.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I gotta say, Paris was my least favorite out of all the places that I went to. I think mostly because people romanticize it so much, and it's like made out to be this like specific feeling from all the movies. And I don't know if it's because I was alone or because my hostel was in like one of the sketchier parts of Paris. I mean, I loved the Eiffel Tower. I loved, you know, walking around that area. But I think out of all the places that I went, that was probably my least favorite.
Oh.
I'll have to go back to see if it changes.
I know we only have a little bit of time with you, and you want to, you know, you got to do something tonight. So I do want to thank you for coming on.
Oh, you're so welcome. I
Yeah.
love doing your guys' shows, and I love being here. So I thank you for having me.
I thank you for. I'm looking forward to reading this book. Like I said, it's something I'm definitely going to get and read because I like reading more about people now than novels. You know.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear what you think about it.
So people are looking for you on the net. Where can they find you?
I am on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Gabrielle Stone, and the book is at Pray FML.
And again, thank you for coming on. As always, you're a beautiful guest. For Gabrielle Stone, of course, I am the 13th Wolfman, and I'm on the prowl.